So I was reading the Bible and I was reading 1 Samuel chapter 15. And I was reading about Saul and all of that happened. And so basically, in that chapter, God gave Samuel instructions to give to Saul to basically um, take out the entire Amalekite nation: women, men, children, babies, cattle, sheep, goats, camels, and donkeys, right? And so instead of killing or taking out, because I know we're on social media, instead of taking out, the Amalekite nation, he basically spared the king, captured him, destroyed everyone else, spared his life, but he kept the best sheep and goats and cattle, the fat calves and lambs, and everything that appealed to them. They only destroyed what was worthless and of poor quality. And so then, not only did he not do what God told him to do, but he also went to a town of Carmel and went to go get set up a monument for himself, right? And so when he seen Samuel, he was so happy, like, I did what God commanded, all this other stuff. And Samuel was like, no, you didn't. Like, you didn't take out everybody. And it was like, as far as the calves, it's like, yeah, we're going to give the calves to God. We're going to give the calves back to God. I'm paraphrasing. But we're going to give the calves and all all of that back to God as a sacrifice. And I read that and I was like, the audacity. Like, at the end of the day, not only did you not do what God told you to do, but on top of that, you're going to give your disobedience back to God as a gift. That's like somebody stealing from you and then be like, hey, on your birthday, they're going to give you back what they stole from you. Like, okay. And then in a few verses later, around like 24, Saul admitted to Samuel, yes, I have sinned. I have disobeyed your instructions and the Lord's command, for I was afraid of the people and did what they demanded. And I'm like, dude, aren't you the king? You're in charge of all of this stuff. And you disobey God, like God, to obey man. But I had to look at myself, as I always do, and I'm like, hold on. How much or how have we, and meaning myself, have sat up here, not did what God has called me to do? And then why do we do that? Sometimes we do it because same thing with Saul, like, oh well, somebody's going to say something or things like that. And we know what God has told us to do, but we ignore those things because our own desires or whatever we want to do. We say that we're going to be abstinent, celibate, all of that, but then as soon as we find the right person or the person that we think, you know what I mean, all that goes right out the window. Or we say that, we're going to follow Christ, but it comes with stipulations, and we do it in a way that makes us comfortable, but not in a way that fully pleases God. And it's crazy. Like, when you actually see that, like, we can, for me, like, I'll read the Bible and I'll be like, and I can point out what this person is doing, but then I also have to look at myself and see if there's things that in my life that God may have said, okay, I need you to do this. And for me, I'm totally transparent. I'll try to find other things to avoid what God is doing. Like, I noticed this while I was doing paper crafts today. I was, making something or whatever, and I felt like I was going so hard on trying to make whatever I was doing perfect, but it was in a way that I was ignoring the call that was on my life. Because earlier I said I was going to read the Bible. Instead of me reading the Bible, I came into my craft room and I just started doing paper crafts. And so the same thing with Saul, it may not be to that extent, but it's still disobedience is disobedience. So is there something in your life that God has called you to do that you're not doing?